Okay, good morning, Headmaster, fellow colleagues, and young gentlemen. I'm Ms. Lai, one of the English and psychology teachers at school. So you may now wonder, why is Mr. Au on the slide? Because I was inspired by him last week. So like Mr. Au, I'm also going to share with you today one of my hobbies. And like Mr. Au last week, I hope I'm able to exemplify how stepping out of your comfort zone could benefit you, as well as the wonders of lifelong learning. So back in late August, right before the academic year started, a close friend of mine gave me my 7-month late birthday gift. It's a reminder cuff engraved with the word warrior. Warrior, what comes to mind? Soldiers in war, video games, the Japanese samurai, basketball team, or yourself in competitions. Well, at this school, we often talk about fighting battles, protecting the hill, and bringing the school glory. While all of these are good and true, for me, the word warrior makes me think of my new hobby, yoga. I took up yoga a couple of years ago and have been practicing it quite regularly ever since. I was an ex-fencer who played the saber, so I trained to be very quick in body and mind to perform well in trainings and competitions. I had thought yoga was really slow and really boring. All people seem to have to do is to strike poses, hold, and smile. I only went to try it out because the close friend who gave me my birthday gift wanted company to a trial lesson. Well, to my surprise, this really slow and boring sport taught me more about fighting and being a warrior than anything else I've ever experienced. So going back to warrior, it is in fact the name of 3 poses. So I invited some of my students to kindly demonstrate the warrior poses. So here's the warrior 1 pose. This is the warrior 2 pose. And here's the warrior 3 pose. Okay, during that 5 minutes when my students practiced yoga, they realized, like me when I first started, that yoga can be very challenging physically. I asked them what was going on in their minds when they held poses, and here are some of their responses. You must be joking. This is more difficult than playing football. Painful. So, would it surprise you then, given the amount of physical endurance required and the pain that people actually go through doing these yoga poses, that yoga studios are often very, very quiet? Students of yoga are encouraged to breathe through the pain and calm the mind down when practicing, especially when the body seems to be struggling. A few weeks after I picked up yoga, I realized something. Through my practice, the most constant and prominent battle is not the one that I fight with my physical body, but the one that I fight in my mind. Well, my mind often gets very, very busy. Questions like, my grandparents are getting old and their health are deteriorating. How can I make the best use of our remaining time together? My parents are close to retirement age. How do I ensure they stay strong and healthy for as long as possible? Am I spending enough time with my husband? Am I spending enough quality time with my daughter, Hazel? Should I read more with her, or should I go on outings with her more? There's so much going on in my life. How do I manage my time more effectively to meet deadlines? How do I give my students timely and valuable feedback? Am I upholding my alma mater's reputation? How can I provide my students with more exposure, a better learning experience? In class, there's this boy who's usually cheerful, and today he seems quite upset. What could I do to show support and care? There's another boy who seems tired all the time. What could I do to help? Well, all these concerns, worries, questions, as you can imagine, could bring about a certain amount of stress, and it could be quite a burden on the mind. I know I'm not alone in my struggle. Research carried out by the Hong Kong Mental Morbidity Survey team a few years ago indicates that the prevalence of common mental disorders among Chinese adults in Hong Kong was around 13%, which means for every 8 adults, 1 suffers from a mental disorder. And more worryingly, among people who are under 14 years of age, the prevalence rate of anxiety disorder was around 7%. Which means for every 14 young adolescents, 1 suffers from anxiety disorder. So you may wonder, they're so young, what do they worry about? I'm sure you, as students, can tell me about some of your worries. Could it be about getting better grades, applying to universities, ensuring a bright career path, boosting your skills in a sport, winning in competitions? Or is it about maintaining relationships with your friends and classmates, getting a girlfriend, or maybe dealing with arguments and conflicts at home with your siblings and your parents? There's so much stress in all our lives. How did yoga help me manage mine? Practicing yoga taught me 3 C's. The first C, practicing yoga taught me how to be calm. As my students could attest, quite a lot of yoga poses actually takes a toll on your muscles, and stretching could bring about a lot of pain. Usually when I suffer from pain, and when there are no other distractions, my mind seems to be able to only focus on the pain. But in yoga, I was guided to focus on my breathing and my breathing only. Struggle, be it in the mind or in the body, should be kept at a minimum. When I'm able to control my breathing, I realize that my heart rate could stabilize and my mind gradually learns to become calm. Outside of the yoga studio, this has helped me work through a lot of obstacles. When faced with adverse situations, which are inevitable in life, I learned to take control of what I could, my mind. I breathe through the unpleasantness, I calm myself down, and staying calm, not reacting immediately, brings me clarity. This clarity is very useful for me to come up with possible solutions to solve problems. Second C, yoga taught me to be confident. Every day you practice, your muscles build up a little bit more, you loosen up a little bit more. So these 2 pictures here show the progress that I've made in about 2 to 3 years. If you look very closely, you'll see that compared to 3 years ago, I'm now able to widen my stance more, bend backwards a little bit deeper, and that my arms now could be extended further backwards. Even though this progress might not be really obvious, I was told that it was important to acknowledge the effort that I've put in, to accept the postures that my body allows me to do at every given point of time, and to appreciate the progress that I've made. I particularly remember what one of my yoga instructors told the class one time. Let go of the expectations that you have based on the pose you've seen from posters, your instructors, or even the person practicing next to you. You are not them. Simply make sure you're listening to your body and your mind and do the most that they allow. When you do this, your body will employ the necessary resources to expand itself and allow you to do more. Trust yourself. Well, this particularly struck me. I studied and I spent 12 years in one of the most competitive schools in Hong Kong. It is easy to think, having grown up in that environment, that you're not enough at this and that, because you can always find someone better than you in any aspect. But yoga, this personal sport, has led me to look inwards rather than outwards. And this has made me acknowledge and accept the strengths and, more importantly, the limitations that I have, thus becoming more confident. Well, most importantly, the last C. Yoga taught me to be courageous. There are a lot of challenging poses that require me to stretch my limits. Inversion poses such as a headstand, handstand, and the one that you see on the right top hand corner. Balancing poses such as the warrior 3 pose, tree pose, or stronger poses, the other ones that you see on slide, which require strength that I don't have. I have stumbled, I have fallen over, I've gotten hurt, but I was encouraged to continue practicing the next day. Having done so quite consistently for 3 or so years now, I have made progress. So here's my warrior 3 pose. When I started, this pose was impossible. I kept falling over after 1 or 2 seconds. But now I could hold that for perhaps a minute or 2 without wobbling too much. I guess this is the same with learning or doing anything new. Learning, it takes time and effort. Mastering something new takes even more time, even more effort. But it is very important not to be intimidated by challenges or scared off by failures. It is important to learn from them instead and be brave enough to try again and again. Learning, whether it is a sport, a language, a musical instrument, a vocation, a career, should always be treated as a process and not a destination. So every day now, I wear this gift that my friend has given me to remind myself to be a warrior, a calm one, a confident one, and a courageous one in my battles both inside and outside my mind. I encourage all of you to be a warrior too. Thank you.